Okay, this is on now, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, I want to just live text Tracy back because he was texting me during this thing that just happened. So now I'm looking out and I'm noticing that there's people wearing bow ties who probably don't always wear them. And now I realize that part of what's happened here is I've been set up. So, Tracy, if you're listening, paybacks, my friend. I know people who know people in Washington. So if you hear a helicopter in the middle of the night, know that this is about this. It's good to be here with you this morning. I live outside of Washington, D.C. I'm in Boston because there's an international meeting of theological nerds called there's 5 conferences. They all happen basically at the same time in the same place, because when you're doing this, you have to get all the nerds together in one place so you have critical mass. And that is the Evangelical Theological Society, the American Academy of Religion, the Society of Biblical Literature, the Institute of Biblical Research, and the Kirby Lang Center for Christian Scholarship. So there's, thousands of people in Boston right now who are learning everything from Zoroastrian eunuch spirituality in the Nag Hammadi Gospels to Peter's approach to political theology. It's religion, and so every kind of religion is being studied, and there's just subsets, and I feel like I am totally been an imposter this week. Right, because I'm talking to people and their books are on my shelf, and it's hard to kind of wrap my head around that. And then eventually they find out that I'm in Washington, and then the conversation just goes where you think it goes. It just goes crazy. And so one of the topics that I'm fairly interested in, and one of the things I like about coming to a conference like this, is one of the topics we study is eschatology. So I'm love to go to topics on eschatology. Raise your hand if you know what eschatology is. Raise your hand if you have no idea what eschatology is. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever seen a Marvel movie. Okay, so here's the thing. How many people have ever heard of Marvel Endgame? That's an eschatology. It's an eschatology because Thanos is trying to get, I think, 7 Infinity Stones. Is that right? Are there 7 of them? 6. There's 6 Infinity Stones. See, I'm a pretender. Even here, I'm a pretender. He's trying to get these Infinity Stones, and once he gets them, what he wants to do is be able to snap his fingers and wipe out half of all living things in the universe and rule it. And so in Marvel, the last movie, the Avengers are trying to stop Thanos, whose name means what in Greek? Death, which tells you his end game. It ain't awesome, right? And they fail, right? They die at the end. Like half of the Marvel characters are, hey, it's a spoiler from a movie 10 years ago. Yeah. Just so you know, the Death Star blows up a couple times. Sorry to let you know that that's happened. Okay? Also, Forrest Gump's mother dies. Just want to let you know. I feel like I should just go back here and do the whole sermon right here, because that was the greatest thing ever. And partially because there's a lot of money in conflict, Marvel decided we should do that again. We should have another chance to see if we can stop Thanos from doing his end game. And wouldn't you know it, they succeed. But some people have to sacrifice their lives for them to be successful. That's funny. So I say in Washington, D.C., there are 3 eschatologies available to everybody all the time. And what we do at Faithful Presence is we work with those people and with churches who engage in public square dialogue to understand the difference between the three eschatologies, which is what we're going to talk about today. All three of these eschatologies have really crispy names. They look good on a hat. Okay, the first one is called Make America Great Again, right? MAGA. It's an eschatology because it's making a statement about the way things are, and it's telling you the way things should be, and it's giving you a blueprint for getting there, and some of you have this grimace on your face like, oh no, what sermon did I just step into? Stick with me, okay? Because I like Tracy, so I'm just telling you, he's a good guy. And this is going to work out in the end. Okay? It gives you a guide to get you there even, right? The other one is called Build Back Better. And it's an eschatology which literally means the same thing as Make America Great Again. Literally, the words mean the same thing, but they're going in a different direction, aren't they? Because Build Back Better, their end game looks very different than the Make America Great Again end game. These are two end games going in two different directions with two different leaders to get you there, two different answers to the question, what is good, what is broken, what is missing, and what is evil. And, unfortunately, they tell their people, their followers, that the only way to get this to happen is you have to fight these other people the whole time. Otherwise, we're not going to get the things that we want. So these are the two eschatologies that I'm willing to tell you about right now. But there's a third eschatology, and that's the one we're going to talk about. And this is Peter is writing this, so keep in mind that Peter is writing this in a very political context. Right? Peter is writing this in a context where Christians are seen as either extreme or irrelevant. Does that sound like any experience we're having right now? Christians are extreme or irrelevant. And Peter is a guy who, in the course of 4 hours, mind you, from 4 hours, he went from hearing Jesus tell him, because Peter wanted to know, hey, I'm not the guy who's going to betray you, am I? Like, I'm not that guy. Jesus like, no, don't worry about it. Whew, man, God. Thought I was going to be that guy. He's like, no, but you are going to deny me 3 times. And in Greek, the way that word works is it has a sense of you're going to let me down 3 times. You're going to go against me 3 times. And so the next thing that happens 3 times is what? Does anybody know? What? He rooster crows 3 times. He denies him 3 times. But you know what? That's not the next thing that happens 3 times. He's asked by Jesus, stay awake while I pray. Can you do that, Peter? Yes, I absolutely can do that. I will not let you down. I am on it for you. Jesus goes and he prays and he comes back. He's like, what are you doing? You're sleeping. I'm sorry, I'm here now. I'm good. 3 times. Try to imagine how Peter feels at this moment. He has let his Lord down. This is the guy who jumps out of a boat to try to prove to Jesus that he's the most best wingman you could ever have, right? He's constantly trying to show off for Jesus and then failing epically and then has to get back in the boat with the other disciples who I'm sure are going, oh, good grief. Okay, all right, this guy. Then come the imperial guards from the temple to arrest Jesus. Peter thinks to himself, here's my chance. I am going to redeem myself from that complete and abysmal failure. These guards are heavily armed. They're wearing armor. They have swords. They have completely outnumbered the disciples. And what does Peter do? He pulls out his sword and starts cutting off the ears of people. And Jesus says, stop it. I do not need you to do that thing. What are you doing storming? Oh, wait, that was a different date. I don't need this. Yes, but Peter's probably thinking, but the election's been stolen. Like, you're supposed to be our leader who's going to take us to this thing, and now the whole thing has been rigged, and you're going to be stolen from us, and we've got to do something, and we're going to time to break things down and hurt people. And Jesus is like, I'm sorry. When I decide it's over, I'm not going to need your sword. I got this. Now I'm going to go die. 4 hours later, a little tiny girl comes up to him and says, who's unarmed and wearing no armor and has no sword, and says, hey, don't I know you? Aren't you the person who hangs out with Jesus? Nope, don't know him. Never seen him. No, seriously, I literally just no, don't know what you're talking about. Swear on my mother's grave I don't know that guy. How do you go from I am willing to hurt people and kill people to defend the end game that I think that we're going to all have to I don't know the guy at all. I've given up because it's pointless. It is that you have realized that the eschatology that you have followed is broken. And this is what has happened to Peter. This is the guy who writes this letter. Think about that. The guy who goes from I'm ready to kill people to I don't know Jesus, who then after the resurrection is sitting next to Jesus in front of a fire, and I think that Jesus says to him first, are you done now? Like, are you done with all the, ooh, look at me? Are you done? Great. Feed my sheep. Feed my sheep because their lives are going to be bad for a long time. They are not concerned about prayer in school. They're not concerned about pushing back against DEI. Here's what they are understanding. They are a conquered people living under the oppressive rule of both a religious and a political leader that does not care about them. And they have to navigate their entire lives this way. So if you could teach them how to navigate that, that would be wonderful. And so you ask yourself, how do you get people who are elect exiles, who are seen as irrelevant as an extreme, to live lives in a way of being faithfully present every single day when they are on the downhill side of a power differential that they can't control? And this is what this passage is about. The first thing that Peter does here is he asks them to put on the identity of the people of God. He wants to ground them in who they are. And what he tells them is that they have value and that they're a community and that they are different. So the text that Tracy sent me was, one of the texts he sent me was Pastor Mike, ? Here's why what Peter's saying matters. Because Peter is trying to ground their identity somewhere that is least likely to trigger them. And when I hear Pastor Mike, I get triggered. Not in a good way. Because my name used to be Michael John Langer Jr. That was the name I was given at birth. My mother married a person to keep him from going to Vietnam because she was a hippie, and her dad was a highly decorated World War II major who supported General Patton. And she wanted to rebel against the machine, and so she married this man who, it turns out, has two very good life skills. One is making millions of dollars, and the other one is training like Mike Tyson at home on the other people that he lives with. I'm just noticing children, and I'm pushing things over their heads intentionally. That was the life that I lived until I was 5 years old, when they got divorced. And then every other weekend, I would have to go on, visitation, which was like boxing training. My mom remarried the greatest guy in the world, my dad. Jerry. Vietnam veteran, did 2 tours, came back 6 years younger than my mom, had a big red afro in a Chevy van. It's great. It's just great. And he loved me, and I wanted to change my last name to be his last name, and my biological father, did too, would block it and also not pay child support. So we lived on welfare. About 4 years after they were married, I really am preaching from 1 Peter. I promise you, because it's really about the meaning of a name. He fell 4 years after they were married and hit his head on the corner of a cement stair and was permanently disabled. Massive brain injury, unable to speak, unable to process any kind of information really at all. And 6 months after, so our family went on welfare. 6 months after that, my mother came out of the back bedroom. I was watching the Andy Griffith Show on TV. And my mother came out of the back bedroom and told me to go to the neighbor's house and to call the police and don't come back no matter what you hear. And I said, well, why? And she just screamed at me, go. So I ran, and I'm knocking on the neighbor's door saying, please call, I don't understand. And my mother is crying in the backyard. No, 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 no. Not my baby, who she had found had succumbed to SIDS. She never recovered from that. She eventually was homeless for 7 years and died of complications from homelessness. But my dad never stopped being the motto of the Marines. Always faithful. And so when I got adopted by him legally 4 years ago, I changed my name to Michael, the letter J, Langer, and I dropped the junior, and I tell people the J stands for Jerry. I couldn't change my last name because I've got kids. I've signed lots of legal documents. But hearing Mike triggers me because that's what he goes by, right? And I tell you that story. It totally wasn't planned, but I tell you that story because names mean something, right? We use names to give ourselves an identity that we can feel comfortable in. Like maybe you're here in Massachusetts, and you're like, doggone it, I'm a Cowboys fan. I am a Cowboys fan, and I don't like the Patriots. This is my identity, and that's okay. I'm not a Dolphins fan. I'm a Commanders fan because I live in Washington. I'm really an Iowa Hawkeye fan. That's my team. Those are my people. And so we can find our identity through sports. We can find it through a denomination. Right? We're in the EPC. We're not in the PCA. We're not in the OPC. We're not in the PCUSA. We're not in the RPCNA. I used to be in the PCA. And there's a gentleman right over here when I joined the EPC coming out of the PCA because they were arguing about things I didn't think it was necessary to argue about. Things like doing background checks. And man, we really are going to get to this. But this messed with my head. I came into the EPC pretty wounded, pretty shell-shocked. Because at the same time that I was coming into the EPC, I shared with some people in your church that, is this being recorded? Is it?
You want us to pause it, Michael?
I know he didn't. But it was so meaningful to me. And so what Peter is, so again, Peter is talking to people who are fallen, like we all are. Fragile, like we all are. Fragged, you throw a grenade in, it blows up, it hurts people. And finite, like we all are. And he's trying to help them. How are they going to navigate this world that they're living in? And here's what he tells them. You are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. What he wants them to know is that they are chosen and royal and holy. Chosen and royal and holy. This is important. He wants to ground their identity in being chosen and royal and holy. And kids, if you want to know how difficult it is to feel like you're chosen and royal and holy, ask your parents what junior high felt like. Right? Because it didn't feel like you were chosen, royal, or holy most days in junior high school. Right? Now, parents, I want you to know this. Your children, many of your children are carrying around with them a device that is constantly communicating to them that they are not chosen and royal and holy. And it is sending them information regularly that the people that they know seem to be chosen and royal and holy, or at least have the right genes and the right filter and the right hair and all this other stuff, but they don't. And it's doing that intentionally. Intentionally, the algorithm is communicating to them the kind of things that makes them keep checking over and over and over and over again to see if somebody has liked their post so that they will feel chosen, royal, and holy. But the Instagram algorithm has actually made it so that they're not actually showing that picture to anybody. So that they will keep checking it, wondering if anybody's checking it, while they are then sending them more pictures of their friends who are being liked, but not showing their picture, so that they will take a more, shall we say, interesting picture. And then they will get likes. So Peter's words matter then, they matter now. He's trying to help these elect exiles understand that they are, as Exodus says, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all people, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And you would say, okay, well, so if I obey your voice and keep your covenant, I'm treasured, but if I don't do it, I'm not. If I don't do it, if I don't measure up, I'm out. In Isaiah 43, after they've not done any of the things they were supposed to do, we hear this: fear not, for I have redeemed you. I've called you by name, and you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. Through the rivers, they will not overwhelm you. When the fire, you shall not be burned. The flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel. I give Egypt as a ransom in exchange for me, because you are precious in my eyes and honored, and I love you. Yeah, but we didn't do the thing you said. I know. I knew that when I said, listen, you are chosen and royal and holy. And the world is going to do everything they can to try to convince you that those things are not true. And you need to do something else to fit in and get the feedback you want. And that might mean joining some political organization. That's going to give you identity, and then you're going to feel good. Or being a Patriots fan, and you realize, but they don't win the Super Bowl every year. I don't know what to do. So he wants to communicate value. He's also communicating community, that they are a race, a priesthood, and a nation. And again, social media is all about creating division, right? But here's this church. Here's a little nugget for you, Tracy. If you're listening, Satan hates this church with a white hot hatred. You don't want to know why? Because you don't all look alike. You don't all think alike. You probably aren't all educated the same. You all come from different backgrounds, and yet you're worshiping together. Satan hates that. He hates the fact that this church is practicing and believes that black lives matter, that diversity, equity, and inclusion are biblical truths that should be celebrated, not terms to be co-opted and politicized for political gain or virtue signaling. These are terms that the Bible owns. The Bible defines what diversity means. The Bible defines what equity means. The Bible defines what inclusion means. The Bible defines the fact that Gentiles get to sit next to Jews and not in a special section. The Bible defines that. They are a community. They are one community. They are a race, a priesthood, and a nation, a church. And by that, I don't mean America, right? Because George Washington did not enter into a covenant relationship with Yahweh and broke some animals in part and said, hey, let's have a covenant, you and me, and we'll make America the new covenant nation. That never happened. It is the church, right? We have to remember that there is no covenant with America. There is a covenant between God and his church. And this is what we're called to do. We are called to be in this place. You have to remember that when Peter is falling asleep, here's who Jesus is praying for. He's got Peter, who likes to jump out of boats, likes to raise his hand first, likes to be the guy, and John, who just wants to lay his head on the lap of Jesus and rest. And he has Simon the Zealot, right? The Zealot's job is to kill Matthew the tax collector. And he prays in the garden, Father, make them one, as you and I are one, so that the world will know that you love them and sent your son for them. Because they're going to go, are you kidding me? Those people together in one place? That can't happen. You're right, it can't. Unless God ties them together. And if God ties them together, it's going to blow people's minds that they are together. And yet we're different, right? We don't agree with everything that's happening. But the reason that Peter's doing this is because if you don't have your identity and your community in the right place, anxiety will ruin your life. Anxiety will make you panic and feel like maybe I have to go to war with somebody to try to make sure we're okay. Maybe I need to do something to protect myself. Peter's like, no, I've been there. And then he wants to tell them what to do, which is to proclaim the excellencies of God, which should beg the question, well, what are the excellencies of God? What has he done that's awesome? Sent his son to die on the cross? Yep. Is that it then? Is that all we got? Is that all we have to offer the world is that Jesus died for your sins? No. He transferred you out of the kingdom of darkness and put you into the kingdom of light. Am I safe there? Am I safe? Am I protected here? Is it possible that this could all go wrong? No, it's not possible. Because Jesus is holding all things together. He is the beginning and the end. He is the Alpha. He is the Omega. There is nothing that can happen to you that you need to worry about, including the cancer that might kill you. You are safe in the kingdom of light. You do not need to storm the Capitol. You do not need to burn the city to the ground. You don't need to do any of those things because God is in charge. Proclaim the excellencies of him who told the Syrophoenician woman trying to beg food for her child, hey, we care about you. The Samaritans, we care about you. Come in here. Gentiles, we care about you. The woman at the well, yeah, we care about you. Oh, do I get to keep doing what I'm doing? No, but we care about you. And just come and see that God loves you. The leper, the zealot, the tax collector. He's gathering all of these people in. This is an excellency. The Christians in the 1st and 2nd century would go out into the garbage dumps and pick up children that were cast away. This is an excellency, that life has value. These are the excellencies of God that he wants them to proclaim. Once you are not a people, and now you are God's people. Once you've not been shown mercy, and now you have received mercy. What the Bible has to say about sex and sexuality and the markets and foreign relations and the environment and vocation and justice, these are all excellencies that the Lord gave us. The idea that the Bible defines diversity, equity, and inclusion. The fact that the Bible tells us that Gentile lives matter. These are the excellencies that we should be proclaiming. Not screaming at people about. And definitely not just saying, well, I don't want to say anything because that'll get me in trouble. Well, got Jesus killed. It got Paul thrown out of every town he was ever in. And how do we do this? We abstain from the passions of the flesh. And here's what's crazy. I hear this all the time as a pastor. Somebody will describe something happening and they'll say, oh, well, you know, it's not like he didn't commit a moral failure, but he did have to resign. I'm like, oh, by moral failure, do you mean that he was being envious? Well, I mean, no. I mean, you know. I'm like, oh, he was being bitter? No, come on. I mean, a moral failure. So, lying, creating division, slandering? No. Do you not know what I mean when I say a moral failure? Oh, you mean one of the list of things that God calls a moral failure is the one you want to focus on. That's the one that matters. The other ones don't matter so much. Those, we don't care about those. Keep your conduct honorable. Don't be a jerk, is what it says in the original Greek. Not really. But don't be a jerk. Be the person that is there and can be there for people, right? Because here's what it says. Now the works of the flesh are evident. Sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, sorcery, drunkenness, orgies, and things like this. I warned you, don't do those things. Is that the verse? Is that Galatians? Who said no? Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy. Things that the public square doesn't struggle with ever. Drunkenness, orgies, and things like this, I warn you. The way that we behave in the world, the way that we post on Facebook, and you shouldn't post on Facebook, because you just be done. But the way that we comport ourselves in the social media world matters. This denomination is coming up with language about pastors and their use of social media for a reason. Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned from office this week, in part because she recognized that she was standing in the seat of scoffers and sitting in the congregation of the unrighteous and needed to move to another position to be a tree planted by streams of water. And the response that she got from Christian evangelicals was, I now need to hire a security team to protect me. What? That's insanity. This is insanity. And in her resignation letter, one of the things that she questions is whether or not she's responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. Because the language that she used was incendiary. And the way that we handle ourselves as Christians matters. And so, here's the last eschatology. There's Make America Great Again. There's Build Back Better. And there's Making All Things New. And making all things new is an eschatology because it tells you that things are not the way they're supposed to be. It tells you that things are going to be very different. It answers the question, what is good, what is broken, what is evil, and what is missing. and it gives you a guy to take you there. And you can oppose it with every fiber of your being, and it will happen. And you can participate in it badly, and it will happen. And that is the blessing of where we are. We don't have to panic because Christ is making all things new through us. Our job is just to let the world know that. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you for this word. Thank you that if Peter was alive today, he would go to a haberdashery and buy himself a bow tie. Thank you for Tracy and his love and care for me. Thank you for Peter and the words that he gave to people who were fallen, fragile, finite, and fragged, and confused, and desperate, trying to figure out how in the world will we stand up day after day after day, and reminding them that they are chosen and royal and holy, and a priesthood, and a nation, and a people, to proclaim the excellencies of a God who calls us out of darkness and into the light of his marvelous Son, in whose name we pray. Amen.